A man ate 600 pounds of ramen noodles over 6 months. This is what happened to his intestines. GN is a 42-year-old man presenting to the emergency room disoriented with psychotic delusions. He tells the admitting nurse that he isn't pregnant, but he's here to deliver. His wife Sarah responds that very soon GN will believe that he's going to pass gas, but it's going to be so much more than that because he just ate 3 pounds of instant noodles for dinner. GN and Sarah had been under a lot of stress. Recently
I remember this guy, this doctor guy, but now he has this fucking fake actors for the documentary or what?
Recently, he took out a massive loan to buy a local.
The guy looks like the
something was wrong.
What is his
When the
name?
deal closed,
Ham
a
guy
mysterious group of people started driving
from
all the cars off the lot.
Mad
Turns out
Men.
those were rentals to make it look like the shop had more business than it really
John
had.
Ham.
And then
Is that
who
his
he
name?
thought was
John
the previous
Ham.
owner
Yeah, John
suddenly
Ham.
disappeared to another country. GN started realizing that the shop had had a terrible reputation. All negative reviews were mysteriously wiped off the internet, and insurance companies wouldn't allow their members to bring their cars to this shop. GN started panicking. He had been scammed. No cars came in for service, but he still had to make loan payments. He couldn't live off his wife because her corporate job didn't pay very well. Thinking about how he could make lifestyle cuts to save money, GN started living solely off 50-cent ramen noodle cups. He felt kind of weird eating this, but as the days passed, he noticed that he was having sloppy bowel movements that he didn't have before. GN would constantly feel hungrier and hungrier. Noodles are made of carbohydrates, of which the more one eats, the hungrier they can get. Despite trying to be frugal with money, he started eating pounds of ramen every day because it was all that he had. 4 pounds a day, 30 days a month, over 100 pounds every month, and the more he ate, the hungrier he got. One evening, GN woke up in a cold sweat. He told his wife that he was communicating with himself in an alternate timeline where he was married to her sister. But as the days passed, GN wouldn't sleep anymore. Sometimes, Sarah would wake up in the middle of the night, and the moment that she opened her eyes, she'd see GN staring at her in the face. And in the morning, he couldn't remember any of it happening. Clearly, something was happening to his brain. That could be from the stress. But as the days passed, GN started complaining of a pins and needles feeling in his fingers, meaning that something was happening to his nerves too. Stress isn't going to cause that. Something else is going on. And good thing that GN had health insurance through his wife. At the family physician's office, GN wasn't okay mentally, but physically, he looked fine. But a blood test reveals that he has anemia. An meaning without, and emia meaning presence of blood. He had less red blood cells than normal, and they were all different sizes. If blood is supposed to carry and deliver oxygen throughout the body, and he doesn't have enough of it, then it could explain why he feels so tired and fatigued all the time. But his anemia was so bad, it was as if he had a traumatic injury and was bleeding to death. The nurse urged GN to go to the hospital where they can take a closer look, and his wife drives him to the emergency room where we are now. At examination, GN had no physical signs of injury outside of his body.
Tried to save money on 50-cent ramen.
They confirm his severe anemia, but where did that blood go? One
60,000 medical bill.
Someone who looks fine could be bleeding in the gut. The medical team heard Sarah talk about GN eating a strange excessive diet, so this could give them some more clues. They send a camera down his throat to see if they can find what's happening and possibly take samples of his gut. And when they look at the images, it tells them everything that they need to know. The inner lining of the intestines have small finger-like projections called villi. The gut absorbs nutrients and water from the food that you eat. Villi increase the surface area of the inner intestinal lining to facilitate absorption because they also have even more folds on top called microvilli. This is a normal function. The problem is, when the medical team were looking at GN's intestines through that camera, they thought they were going to find massive hemorrhaging, but instead, they found that it looked like his villi might be gone. If these structures are vital to absorption and GN has anemia so severe it's as if he's bleeding to death, and anemia could be caused by a deficiency of iron because red blood cells need iron to carry oxygen throughout the body, then it means that he isn't bleeding, but rather he has a nutritional deficiency caused by a problem in his intestines. Massive amounts of ramen noodles is another clue for the medical team. They took a sample of his intestines to look at underneath a microscope, and they find that the villi were in fact all gone. And when they looked closer, those villi were gone because white blood cells were everywhere inside his intestines, as if his immune system was attacking his gut. Putting everything together and confirmed by this imaging and an additional blood
They
test,
died.
the medical team finds that GN has previously undiagnosed celiac disease. This explains his anemia, and it can explain his delusional thinking and erratic behavior. Wheat-based products like the flour used to make the instant noodles that GN ate contains proteins called gluten. If we go a little deeper, because gluten is a protein, it's made of amino acid chains. When we talk about digestion,
We have plenty links. Now you know the dangers.